Yay! Hello, people. I'm just gonna click a selfie and we are going live in 2-3 minutes. Show, and we are talking about cultural shocks that we experience in Australia. So Ashmika has an experience living in India, Singapore, and now in Australia. And I have my Indian Australian experience. So tune in, and we're getting started in 2 minutes. How are you feeling?
Her original
I'm just
partner
really excited. This is the most random thing I've
cancelled on her
said.
last
Yes,
minute.
bro.
I'll just
Partner,
message
what
you.
are you
No,
saying?
guess. Sorry.
Let's go. Hello, namaste, and welcome back to Disha in Australia. Today we have Ashmika on our show, and we are talking about cultural shocks that we experience in Australia. So Ashmika has an experience living in India, Singapore, and now. Hello, namaste, and welcome back to Disha in Australia. Today we have Ashmika on our show, and we are talking about cultural shocks that we experience in Australia. So Ashmika has an experience. Oh, there's someone live. And now, hi.
Sup?
Wait, how are you? I don't know the person who's live, but thank you so much
Comment
for joining.
now.
उसने छोड़ दिया.
Already live, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, Zam, bro.
Someone was live. They just left. No, you are a savior. Don't say that. Okay.
Hashtag savior. Hashtag show must go on.
Wear your headphones now.
Yummy. Oh no.
What?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm posting now. I mean, starting now. So post karke, you can just leave for now.
Ayo. Ah, fuck. Oh. Wait.
Oh my god. There was someone live. Why did you? Because we called them out, so they just left.
It's okay.
A friend. What was the tag?
I put another
friend
one
in
saying
need is a friend indeed.
नहीं. Hashtag क्या दूसरा वाला क्या बोला था मैंने?
A friend in need is a friend indeed.
नहीं. Hashtag savior.
Savior.
नहीं, उतना जरूरत नहीं है. Whatever.
Okay, let's
Done.
go. Hi. So many wires.
This is so much better.
Oh, there's someone again. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. We're just starting now, so you are at the right time. Let's go. Oh, I forgot to tag you on the YouTube live.
Drop a text so that we can talk to you as well. Thanks for
Yeah.
tuning in.
Hello, besties.
Are we already live?
Yeah.
Vibes.
You're seeing the bloopers. Okay, we're starting now. I won't keep you waiting. Okay. Hello, namaste, and welcome back to Disha in Australia. I'd like to start with the acknowledgement of the country. So we would like to acknowledge the Naganwal and Nagamri people who are the traditional custodians of the land, and we pay respect to our past, present, and future. We would like to acknowledge that this land was and will always be a land of the traditional custodians, and sovereignty was never ceded. All right. So today we have a very special guest on our show, and that is Ashmika. So, hi Ashmika, welcome to Disha in Australia.
What's up, fam? What's up, Disha in Australia?
How are you feeling today?
I am feeling confused, feeling a lot of emotions because 5 minutes before the show, I found out that I was the backup option for today's show, which I have completely no issues with because that just shows that I'm a great friend, and I hope you remember this once I'm gone.
Yeah, sure. No, I knew who to reach out to when my guest cancelled on me. I was like, oh, what do I do as Ashmika? A friend in need is a friend indeed. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
That's true. And because I'm new to your lovely radio show, I just want to introduce myself.
Yeah,
I'm Ashmika. I'm a year three student, double majoring in psychology and marketing, and I'm from Singapore Management University. I'm currently on exchange at ANU doing four courses, and I'm here only for 6 months and 2 months left. Miss me.
let's go. So thank you so much for taking our time to come to the show in Australia today. We really appreciate your presence. Today we are talking about cultural shocks and different things you might have experienced in your experience in Singapore and Australia, and also my experiences with different things I have observed in Australia that are pretty different to my culture. So, just to begin with, how has your experience been in Australia so far?
I immediately settled into Australia because I have crazy golden retriever energy, and I was actually waiting to find some cultural shocks. And as someone who loves taking notes of the most random stuff, I actually have a list of cultural shocks that I experienced, which, lucky you, I can actually use on your show. And it just worked
See,
out well that your topic also resonates with something I've already been noting down.
I mean, all these things were waiting for this moment to happen. So, all the stars were aligned for
Destiny,
today.
bro. But yeah, I think in comparison to Singapore, because I've lived in India all my life and then I moved to Singapore 3 years ago, I think I experienced more cultural shocks in Singapore than in Australia, which is
Hmm.
weird to me. But today, again, like I experienced some interesting cultural shocks. So I have some fresh cultural shocks that I've experienced.
Yeah. What was the most random cultural shock, like the most weirdest that you didn't expect?
I think the fact that slippers are called thongs.
Yeah. Oh my god, that is wild. I didn't know what this, like, when I was pretty new, someone was mentioning thongs again and then again. I was like, what do you mean by that? You need to like tell me
No,
that.
that kind of makes sense though. Like, if you think about it, like,
No, it does not make sense. You should not think about it.
think of the design, bro. But like at the same time, I just feel like this is a word that if anyone would have just casually said it to me and not explained the meaning, I would have just like let it slide.
Yeah.
But because someone told me what thongs actually mean in an Australian context, I understood what it meant. So it's
Yeah.
basically slippers, guys. It's not what you think it is.
Yeah, no, mine was like someone was mentioning about wearing thongs at the beach. So my immediate thought was different. And then they explained like thongs are like slippers. So you need to like give a new person a context. And I used to live in a residential hall. So like it used to be so fun because people would say the most unhinged stuff and you just let it slide sometimes because half of the times you don't know what they're saying, so I'll be like, oh, whatever. But then I would also fact check just in case. Okay, let's start with your list.
Okay. I actually want to bring up this my favorite cultural shock so far, which some people disagree with. But I think this is something that really amused me. And this was like, okay, finally an actual cultural shock. So I was talking to a friend of mine on my floor because like I stay in the halls here, and that's where like we were just in the common room, we were just chatting, and I was like, I love it how everyone's so laid back, so chilled out here, and in Singapore it's like so competitive, you don't have a freaking life. And she just said, no, actually, if you are very hardworking, it's kind of looked down upon. And I was like,
Yeah.
tell me more, what does this mean? And she just said that there's this concept of tall poppy syndrome. And I was just like, this is beautiful. Like, this is mind blowing. Give me some. Give me this tall poppy syndrome. Beautiful. So basically, this is her explanation. If you come across as someone who's hardworking, it shows that you're being a tryhard, and that's looked down upon in Australia.
Yeah,
And that's
I can second on
lovely.
that.
Like,
That's not lovely. I disagree with that because I have experienced that. I didn't know it was called tall poppy syndrome until like this year. um So, like, Australia has a very laid back culture, and it talks about like when I first came to Australia, it was like, oh, you can call your professors by their name, which was like, I did not have the courage to do that for like first 2 3 months. I was like, I'm not calling you by your name. It's very disrespectful, and I used to call them like sir or ma'am, and that just used to be like um, a thing that they did not appreciate, but at the same time they were pretty accepting towards that. But the tall poppy syndrome, like I got introduced to that this year when someone was telling me that if you try to like do too much, people would want to cut you and like try to sabotage you. And because that's something that's not very popularized in the Australian culture, that you work too hard. um but that's also not good in a way, because I feel like I don't like it. Like if someone is working hard, why would you want to cut them down? Like you don't want to work hard, that's your issue. Why do you not want to let other people also work hard? I do not like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a personal choice, and I would rather have the freedom to do whatever I want. But at the same time, I've heard from a lot of people when I've talked about the tall poppy syndrome and I was first amused by it, that it's not entirely true. Like, some people don't care about it, some people haven't even heard of it, haven't seen this happening or at the front of it. So,
I
mixed
have seen
opinions.
it happening. It has happened to me personally. So
What happened to you?
no,
Spill,
that would
spill,
be a bit
spill.
of personal story which I'm not putting out, but
Okay, fine.
I'll still say like I've experienced it
Hashtag
firsthand.
accept boundaries.
I've experienced it firsthand, and I would say that I do not like it. I hate it because I love working hard and I love doing what I do. And I feel like I can't be like, oh, it's so chill, or like, whatever. But I'll understand. It's just been 2 years. I'll get it. Yeah.
Vibes.
Okay. One of the most fun cultural experiences, not fun, but like a cultural experience, a cultural shock that I've seen here is people love thrifting here, which I have never seen in India. Obviously, I have seen that Sarojini Nagar markets and stuff, which is very famous in India. But from the part of India where I am from, I have never heard of thrifting at all. So the first time I was like, oh, what are thrift shops, was in Australia. And also the fact that it's so normalized here, like everyone goes thrifting, which is so new and like a very different concept for me, because I have never thrifted before, and the only time I thrifted was a 50 cents wine glass, I think. Um, but it is like so normalized, and it is something that people would rather appreciate and would prefer, and it's a way to promote sustainability, which I really like. But at the same time, I just know that from like where I am from, in particular parts of India, it's not something that people would do. And even today,
Hmm.
if I like buy a thrifted thing and I'll tell my mom, oh, it's thrifted, I'll never see that garment again in my life. And I'm not kidding.
I think the concept of thrifting, like when I first heard of it, was probably in India itself, but
Mm,
it was a very distant concept. Like, that just sounds weird. Like, anyways, thrifting happens very informally in India with, you know, uh, intergenerations or like
yeah,
relatives sharing each other's clothes or secondhand clothes. But when I came to Singapore, then I discovered this thrift store and I realized, okay, you know what, this works because clothes in Singapore are very expensive. But the moment I went to a thrift store, I was like, okay, these are like prices I'm willing to pay. Then it kind of became appealing. And then I even like donated some clothes or like gave it for thrifting. But here I've seen that thrifting is such a good concept. Like, there's a store called Vinnie's, which is all across Australia, and you can get really good quality clothes within like $5. And this is cheaper than what you can get in India, and that's a big statement to make.
yeah,
Because I don't do any of my clothes shopping in Singapore because it's so expensive. I avoid it at all costs. But the fact that you can get prices which are cheaper than what you can get in India in Australia is just wild to me. So I feel like thrifting is such a good option, and I completely agree with you. Like, when I first told my mom about the concept of thrifting, and I was still open to the idea as a Gen Z, she was just like, दूसरों के कपड़े क्यों पहनना है, which in Hindi means why would you wear someone else's clothes? And that's a completely valid thought that anyone from that generation would have. But this is something that I really appreciate Australia for. And coming to thrifting, I think even the garbage disposal system is very impressive. So impressive in Australia. That was definitely another cultural shock because I was introduced to this concept of 10C bottles, which is basically 10 cents that you can get if you donate to, I mean, not donate, if you dispose those bottles in particular dustbins, which is amazing. You're getting money for disposing something.
Yeah, but the fact that you don't get that money, ANU does, but that's a different story. Um, Also, in terms of one thing that I did not like about the clothing culture of Australia was, so I used to work in retail and I saw that, see, if there's a faulty piece that comes to our store, it's straight up discarded, it's in the bin. So in one way it's like Australia promotes a lot of sustainability, but also
Hmm.
in the other way, if it's a faulted piece and if you can see like one of the piece was just like, the inseam was out, it could be easily stitched. It was so easy, but it was in the bin. No one is allowed to like put it back into the shop or send it back for it to get staged again or repaired or whatever. They just throw it. It's discarded at that very moment. And I was so shocked when the first time I saw it. Like, there was a customer who came to our store. She returned an item. She said that, oh, I don't like it because it has this. My manager just opened the bin and threw it.
It's probably because of the hassle to like get it fixed. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think throwing it is quite a steep step considering Australia's positioning on sustainability. But moving on to something that I want to bring up, which is going to be a very thought provoking statement for you, Disha, and whoever's watching this. So, if India has cows on the road, Singapore has otters on the road, what does Australia have?
magpies.
Magpies, they'll come on the road.
Yeah,
I
or
was,
these
I
little.
thought correct answer was kangaroos, but fine, bro.
I saw kangaroos for the first time on campus yesterday. And I was like, I'm not kidding. I saw them so close. Like they were standing right here and I was standing here. And I was like, I can't believe my eyes. I'm seeing the kangaroos for the first time on campus.
Where on campus?
Wormbrunn Hall. I was at Wormbrunn Hall yesterday. Fun story. I was breaking into every hall yesterday, tailgating.
For
But
what joy?
because my class got cancelled and I didn't know it. So I was hanging out with a guy and then we just like went to every hall and broke in. It was
Sounds
fun.
like a great plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually, that's another potential cultural shock if you want to label it that way. But I thought kangaroos are damn cute. And they look so cute. And like they're just like so silly and like goofy and like big creatures. But they can kill you. Like, I mean, that's obvious, but at the same time, like apparently one scratch is fatal. This is not the kind of information I was looking forward to when I was coming back to Australia for exchange, guys. I thought I would come here, do friendship with these cuties, but then no, they can kill me. So
The
now I'm like
muscular
afraid of
boys.
seeing kangaroos, you know? That excitement has completely gone because, yeah,
I have never heard someone being killed by a kangaroo. So,
sister, please. Kangaroos, like one scratch can kill you, bro.
no, bro, that's too much. That's not happening, I'm pretty sure. Like, Australians keep playing with kangaroos. You see them alive?
No,
See?
I think it's their size also that matters, you know? Like, if it's a big kangaroo, then like, you know, you should be
Yeah.
careful. But if it's a small, like, oh, cute little
I have
kangaroo, it's
fed
okay.
kangaroos in canes. They just gave it like their feed, and I was feeding kangaroos. They were so cute. They felt like a dog, and I was like petting them. They were so cute. Ah,
Talking about other cultural shocks I've experienced, I my favorite, most enjoyable cultural shock on exchange has been Australia's education system.
mm,
Very controversial topic because I'm kind of saying that the education system is laid back here, which I'm not implying. I think it's a very asynchronous, self paced kind of learning, which I
mm.
really enjoy. So, back in SMU, my home university, attendance is compulsory and it irritates me so much because sometimes you're just not in the mood, you're not feeling well, but attendance is graded. So, you still show up to class even though you don't want to. And lectures are 3 hours long. So, in a way, it's good that in one shot you're getting done with your classes. But the system here is amazing. Like, I didn't know what tutorials or lectures were, so I was actually confused what I was signing up for. But lectures are things you can attend. They're anyways recorded. Like, it's recorded here, bro. In
Yeah.
Singapore, it's like you don't attend class, gone. Whatever notes you made, like that's what you can like hold on to. Whatever prof said in class is just gone in thin air. But here it's like it's okay. You can learn at your own pace. You can apply for an extension, and profs will actually like
Yeah.
care about you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the cultural shocks that I also see. So when I was in my first semester, I was so shocked with the education system because it was nowhere like India, and it was like you're not spoon fed like you used to be in India, and you have like classes every single day. Even like when I compare it to my friends' unis back in India, they have classes almost every day,
It's like a nine to
whereas
six.
yeah, and whereas our classes are more like one lecture, one tutorial per subject. So four subjects is equal to eight classes, and that are like 1 or 2 hours. So just like 16 hours a week. But I'm pretty sure people who are in unis in India have like 40, 45 hours of classes every single week, which is wild. But that also having this balance in Australia gives you time to work and build on your skills, which is very important because I feel like for me, how I learn is through practical exposures and also understanding things from a more practical lens. And because I work within the field of psychology, so most of the times the things that I learn, I can actually apply them to my work, which really makes me understand what I'm doing and also make me remember it for a longer period, which is something I really like. But obviously, those opportunities are not like available in your first semester of uni itself. Like you need to gradually adapt to it. And also the assignments, they're so different. Like I used to do in India, I don't think I ever wrote a report or like an essay ever. The
That's
first
true.
report I wrote in Australia was the most shittiest report anyone has ever seen because
What was it about?
it was about so the report was on gender and sexuality, and it was about the LGBTQ community, which we were supposed to write a report on. And I and we were supposed to tell the cultural experiences and differences within different communities through that. But I was like, I think my content was really nice, but I just didn't know how to write the report, and that was the thing. um and I made it in like the essay structure and like taking things from Wikipedia and writing no peer
Wikipedia.
reviewed journals because I didn't know what is peer reviewed journals, taking very well mind and different websites and putting like psychological things within that. And my teacher was like, this is all gray literature. Where are peer reviewed journal articles? And she, when she marked my essay and she gave me 65, okay, I was still happy. I was not happy, sorry. I was like, this is very low. I worked a lot, and I didn't even know how to do bibliography. My bibliography was not alphabetical. It was according to the links how I found out. So it was like chronological order of the links that I found out. But my teacher was so nice. She still gave me 65, okay? After that shittiest report, because I told her that this is the first time I'm ever writing a report, and then she gave me 65, and then I still complained to her. I was like, I think I deserve better. You need to recheck my essay. And then she like called me and she was like, let's have a chat. I don't think you know how to write reports yet, so let me teach
Toasted.
you. No, that was actually very nice of her because she actually really taught me how to do that. And also, if I it wasn't for her, I would have never known that I need to like do these things in a particular way, and I can't just like take things from Wikipedia and just put it. It took me a lot of time to understand the structure and actually write reports in a proper way. But I think it comes with like different exposures, and I'm glad that experience happened with me.
Sister, are you from CBSE board?
Yeah.
You know, my biggest cultural shock because of CBSE was finding out that in formal emails, you can say dear. Because I don't know about you, but my school grilled it into my head that if you are writing an informal letter, you say dear. If it's a formal letter, then it says respected ma'am or sir. So when I started getting emails saying dear, I was like, this is an informal email. But that was like so
Mm.
irritating to me, like something that I've been ingrained to learn in India is suddenly like different. And there are reports, assessments, and like essays that CBSE or like the basic Indian education system does not prepare you for. But I'm glad that I think, you just need that one professor who understands that this is a cultural adjustment for you. And then they like kind of guide you through the process and how to actually write assessments. That's completely true. And another thing which I really like about how Australian education system is so accommodative is how every class ends 5 minutes earlier and starts 5 minutes later.
Yeah,
Like that's such a thoughtful thing to do. And I really, really admire the Australian education system for it.
yeah.
Because in Singapore, in my first year, I had stats, and that class has made me cry on a daily basis. I'm not exaggerating. But my prof, her attitude towards punctuality didn't help either. It was a morning 8:15 a.m. class for 3 hours doing stats.
Uh,
I'm just rushing to class. I get up at 6 because I live far off from campus. And she would always scold anyone who would come late to class. And everyone would be so freaked out to even enter class. And I think
mm.
this is the kind of system I would not thrive in. And I feel like in that aspect, sometimes I wish I studied in Australia instead.
I feel for me, professors have been really, really important. And I think because I was so new to all of this, my professors have really guided me through my journey in Australia, because I would have never really understood what they want, what the things are required from me if it wasn't with my professors. So, with the gender class, my professor helped me with the assessments, and she also like guided a lot. And there was like, when you are new, there's some hesitation about the things that you want to speak, because you don't know if people are going to understand what you're trying to imply and stuff. And I entered as an 18-year-old just out of high school student, and I think she just motivated me so much. And you know how a professor can see on your face that you want to say something, and they like
Hmm.
try their best to like make sure that you feel comfortable enough to speak up. And I'm very glad for those experiences. um Even like doing different sorts of research projects, and just being around your professors, I think they're very supportive. I really like this about Australia, and they're very chill. I remember, so I did not study bio, but I went to a lecture because I was like, my three idiots moment, jahan gyan mile baith jao. So
You
I,
can do that?
yeah, I just sat in a lecture with someone I didn't know, and I was like, whatever, we are besties now. So, and then there was a guy in the classroom who knew me, and he was like, when did you start studying bio? I was like, from today. And then
Roasted.
so the teacher was, that's how we became friends also. um so the teacher was teaching bio, and I was like sitting there and studying, and the teacher was like, so after this class, if anyone has any doubts, you can come meet me at Badger for a drink. And I was like, oh, this is very new. First of all, my Three Idiots moment was very fun because I was sitting there as a psych student with no bio elective. I was just there. There's no attendance. Who cares? And that also made me realize, after paying so much tuition fee, like any random person can enter into this room, see the lecture, and no one cares because there's like 600 people in this room.
I don't
Who's gonna
know.
care?
I don't know what kind of classes you're attending, but this is another thing that amuses me so much. I have a sustainable marketing class, and it's there are 240 people enrolled, but only 4 people show up every single tutorial, including me. And I don't understand how. Like,
Yeah,
I come from a Indian paisa vasool mentality, which means that I want to reap the benefits of the money I'm spending. And that's
yeah.
why, even though as an exchange student, I literally don't need to stress so much about my education.
Mm.
But what can we do? Some things just don't leave you, right?
Yeah, even at our seminar, hardly 6 people show up.
Yeah. So I don't know what you're talking about, how so many people are attending
No,
class.
it's the first class, no.
Oh, first class.
Lectures, and like for
Fair
the
enough.
first 3 4 weeks, everyone attends their lectures, first years especially. For my first year, in my first semester, I attended every lecture. Sometimes I was 30 minutes late, but that does not matter because I was there at the lecture. That's the only thing that mattered to me. And also it's like so easy to sneak in when there's like so many people in that lecture, because I could just like enter from the back door and sit at the back. Oh, there was this one time when I was sitting in the front row, very front row, in the middle, and there was a friend sitting on right next to me. We are best friends now, but at that time I just knew this girl, and I was studying criminology, and I did not understand the accent of this professor. And I didn't even realize I fell asleep, and I was sleeping on the shoulder of my friend in front of my professor in the first row, middle seat. That was
See,
so embarrassing. When I woke up, the professor was looking right in my eye. That was the most scariest thing ever.
was that a class you enrolled for?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Can't even escape that.
That was a
Congratulations.
criminology class, and then I,
How can you get bored? Bro, that's.
bro, I didn't understand his lingo.
Oh,
his
yeah.
his accent was like very thick Australian accent, and it was really hard for me to understand. And I think it was my second or third lecture, and I fell asleep. And that was so embarrassing. And then my friends, like to this date, they will mimic the way I was asleep in that class, and just like, I hate that. But then what I did was I woke up and I saw like the professor was staring at me, and then I was like all very concentrated. And then I went to the professor at the end and I was like, I'm sorry I slept, but I don't think I understand your accent. So
You called him out.
but I was seconded by another international student, which also I didn't know. He said that, yeah, I agree to what she's saying. I also don't understand your accent. And then the professor was like, okay, I will work on my accent. So he says that I'm going to change my accent a bit and tell me next time if you understand my accent or not. So we go to the next class, we still don't understand his accent. And then we go to him and tell him that I think it's not your accent, it's the mic. And the mic was echoing a lot, and that's the reason we weren't able to hear.
For
So he,
real?
yeah, so he changed the mic and then it was fine. But that's the thing, see, people are accommodative if you tell them how they're feeling.
That's damn sweet. You know, when I first came to Singapore, my first class was Introduction to Calculus. I'm a social science student who did not do math for 2 years. Did I ask to do maths again? Clearly not. First class, 15th August, Day of Independence in India, I am doing calculus against my will. This is something which made me so sad. My professor was from mainland China. His accent was extremely strong. And that was the day I was like, I came to Singapore with this intention of becoming a vlogger and showing my experience to other international students. But I was like, if I don't understand the lecture,
Hmm.
I don't understand my prof's accent on day one, I don't know if I'll be able to get through SMU. Touch wood. I'm still in SMU. I did not drop out. I did not fail. But I
Let's
think
go.
accents can come up across so differently. And I have crazy lore to spill about accents.
I one another accent story that happened with me was I took a business course. So first of all, I was studying psychology. I took accounting for some reason. I was like, let me do it for the plot. So
I would never do math for the plot. I'm not interested.
bro,
I
I
will not plot anything only, bro. Keep it to yourself. Keep your exes also to yourself.
so in my second semester I took accounting. I was like, I'll just do it for the plot, because I never studied commerce, so I had no background of accounting whatsoever. And these people expected us to know 11th, 12th accounting as a base level. And they didn't tell that to me before. The course was called BUSN 1001 business. So I thought they'll teach me about business. First two classes were business. They were teaching about how people do businesses, what are different types of businesses, ABN, blah, blah, blah. Third class, accounting.
And I'm pretty sure they said it in a way that, oh, no, no, it's introduction friendly, beginner friendly.
I am not
Oh.
kidding. I have never seen these many numbers in my life that I saw in accounting. I was like, I don't know what to do. But I still passed that course with a distinction. And that's the biggest flex I have to this date, because that was the only exam in my life, in my entire life, that I was scared for. Like, I didn't know if I was going to pass that exam. But when I got my result, I have never been happier. Like that was, I was crying. I have video of myself crying one day before the exam, telling that I don't know shit about this exam. And how I cleared that exam is also a funny story. So they gave us the sample question paper and answers, and I saw the pattern 2016, 2019, 2021, same exam. And my exam was 2023. So what I did
She
was,
did the most CBSE Indian student ever and looked at all the sample papers and practiced it before.
exactly, I didn't know how to solve any of the questions that they were giving, but I knew that these questions are going to be repeated. And that is what happened. So they changed the numbers. That's it. The company name was same. Every question was same, only the numbers were different. So if you know how to do maths, which they allowed a calculator for, there are exact formulas. So I crammed. I literally crammed 2016, 2019, and 2021 exam. And then I did my 2023 exam, and the questions were exact same. I'm not kidding. I still don't know how to do cash flow, but I did it exactly how it was supposed to be in the exam because I crammed it. I just had to change the numbers. The exam was exactly same. The questions did not change. They were right in the same order. Like they were same order questions, only the numbers were different. And one of the question, even the number was not different. I knew the answer to that question before starting that question also.
Beautiful.
But sometimes you need to do smart work. Like sometimes hard work does not work. You need to like use your brain and do shit. So yeah.
That's true. But talking about accents, I realized that, coming to a place with a heterogeneous culture, because in India it's very homogeneous. Everyone's Indian, everyone understands what each other's saying. But when you step out into an international space, you realize that a lot of aspects of your ethnicity come into play. So, for example, I started emceeing in Singapore through a competition that I won for emceeing. And I didn't know that because of that, like, you kind of get a preference in the club and like you automatically join the club called Broadcast and Entertainment. So a client chose me for this event. This is something I usually don't talk about. And this is crazy tea spilling session
Ooh.
because we are talking about accents, and this is a pretty crazy cultural shock. And there's also a very deep message that I want to end it with. So, this client chose me for a gig that I didn't even sign up for. They chose me, okay? It was a 15-minute event. It had CEOs and like big C suite people. And that's why the clients were kind of stressed that we need to project ourselves very well. And we had like 8 hours worth of rehearsals for a 15-minute event, mind you. We constantly kept getting grilled. It was me and this other local Singaporean co host. I'm an international student, and you can see that I have an Indian accent. Might not be very strong, but it's still there. My client constantly grilled me for my accent, and he said 3 times in these exact words, "Everything is finer. Just fix your accent. Just fix your accent." These words were ringing in my head the entire day. Like, what do I do to fix my accent? And see, emceeing is speaking, okay? I'm giving you my service by speaking, fair enough. But the fact that you say fix, it's like, okay, I just have to fix something, and fair enough, like decent feedback, it's speaking. I came home, tried to put on an accent, and I was like, okay, this is not me. And that was the worst event I have ever emceed for because I was trying to be someone I'm not on stage. And that's when I realized that you can't, like, accents, sometimes feedback is not good for you. I love taking feedback. I will listen to anyone with good feedback. But sometimes constructive feedback can literally be deconstructive. Like, that did not make me enjoy emceeing at all. I stopped emceeing for like a good couple of months. And that also made me realize a crazy cultural shock that I thought that when you're, I mean, I thought Singapore is a multicultural society, multiracial society, but people do have their preconceived notions of different ethnicities, and that might interplay in how they interact with you. And Indians, international Indians, are a minority, and the way they're treated, the way they're looked out for is definitely different from what I had anticipated. So that incident made me realize that I need to be more aware and conscious of my Indian identity, which I did have a pretty big identity crisis that day because I was trying to like tone down my Indian accent or fix it. And in fact, they even made me record me speaking and say, like, oh, your R's are too strong here. You can say this better. And no, actually, they didn't say it, you can say it better. They just said, just fix your accent. So I was like, okay. So, yeah, the point being, which I would like to put across to whoever's listening, is that sometimes feedback is not good for you. And I think you should never ever put on an accent for someone or to please someone. I've seen people in Australia and even in Singapore who change their accent, which honestly is fine because it's an adaptable human nature to adjust your accent as to how you're speaking to anyone. But I think it's just not done when you're compromising your identity, because that's not true to yourself. And there's beauty in having your own individuality.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that the thing that my client wanted me to do was something that a lot of MCs have, which is a very bland and neutral accent.
Hmm.
But what's the fun in everyone speaking very neutrally when everyone has their own flavor which the accent brings? So that's my
I
rant
love
done.
that line. Ooh. No, I definitely agree with the concept of individuality. I have seen that in Australia too, like not just in a way that you see people having an accent, but sometimes you might yourself have an accent which you don't realize that you start getting until someone points you out or something. Um, but sometimes it's low-key embarrassing to see other people trying to be someone who they are not, and you can see it very easily because a lot of times I see people pronouncing their names how a white person would pronounce their name, just because now they'll accept that, okay, you're going to pronounce my name in this way anyway, so let me just take it as a name. And I do not find it cool. I just feel like you are just settling yourself instead of standing up for yourself, and that is not nice because what if you mispronounce their name? Are they going to accept that? And that's one of the thing that I also see. So like people from different cultures, they change their name as well.
I swear, even I'm a victim of that. My name's Ashmika. I started letting people say, just call me Ash, because people didn't put in the effort in saying my name. But I noticed in Australia, every single person actually remembers my entire name and spells it correctly. So stop changing your name to suit other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be yourself, bro. If
Yeah.
someone wants to learn, they will learn.
And I have met people who would just change their Indian name in a way how a white person would pronounce
Give
it.
me an example. Spill,
No,
spill, spill.
because no, I can't say names outside the show.
Sad. Hashtag boundaries
Maintaining
accepted. It's
maintaining
okay.
confidentiality. Um, but like I'll give you a generic example.
Yes,
Like
generic example is what I meant, bro.
param is like pram. Yeah.
Nah.
If you ever say pram, param in India, I'm telling you, you're out of your fucking house. Okay. So, um, um, but yeah, I have seen those this was also a cultural shock, like people actually changing their whole name. So like they'll have an English name and also a real name that they have back home, and that is something I've never seen. And so you have like two names. Some people have like four names according to different people and different cultural identities they carry with themselves. And for me, I feel like my name is very important for me, and I feel like
You
I
can't go wrong with Disha, bro. I'm sorry. Wait, has anyone ever mispronounced your name?
they call it Disha,
Disha.
or like Disha because like it has dish, so dish
Oh, fair enough.
some people just call it dish, which is fine. Like I call my
Dish.
best friends like, okay, you can call me dish, it's fine. But like there was this one person at work who used to call me dish every time, and I was like, do you mean Disha? What is dish? And like I called him out because my name is Disha and you have to call me Disha. And I don't like people who mispronounce my name, and people who are like Trisha, Nisha, Pisha, Risha. No, it's Disha. I will pronounce it for them. I'll be like Disha. Also, it's called H or not H, which is what in
Hitch.
India. Um, I'll like spell it out for them, but you cannot mispronounce my name, and I won't accept people like saying something else to me apart from my name because I think that's very disrespectful. And because I feel like respect is something that's very important for me. And if people mispronounce my name, I find it very disrespectful. And yeah, I'm not interested in talking to people who are disrespectful.
Facts. I want to bring up this other cultural shock that I really, really like in Australia. So I work part time at a cafe, and I asked my boss when I should come for work, and he was just like, "Come around lunchtime." And then I was like, "Okay, but could you like give me some time so that I can put it in my calendar?" And he's like, "Yeah, like 11ish, 12ish." And I was like, "What do you mean ish?" And even in the opening hours outside the cafe, it says 8 a.m. to 2ish, like ish. And
That's your personal experience, I think.
no, but I've seen this across a couple of places. Like, I love the way people are, like, some people are just so chilled out here. They know how to live life.
Yeah.
I needed this 6 month break from Singapore because I live on my calendar entirely in Singapore. Like, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. People send you a Outlook invite
Mm.
for lunch.
Yeah.
But here, it's like, yeah, just 12ish, 11ish, just come whenever. And
People do send an Outlook invite for lunch here as well. I think the cafe that you're working on is too chill. But like when I used to work in corporate last year, we had calendar invites for everything. Even a 15-minute coffee catch up has a calendar invite.
corporate life is different, right? But
Yeah.
imagine, like, as a friend, would you want me to? Okay, actually, that's a different story because both of us like being organized. But, like,
Yeah. She, like, I sent her a calendar invite for a study time.
yeah, no, that's just an
So,
odd case. But in
yeah.
general,
Yeah. But just putting out a statement, I have seen that chilled out culture as well. Because there was this one time when I was awake till 4 a.m. because I was like, what should I wear to work tomorrow? And I was putting it
very
on
valid
my
reason.
Instagram stories like, oh, this is option one, this is option two, this is option three. What should I wear to work tomorrow? And I'm dressing up. I painted my nails. I'm also accessorizing. It's 4
Girlie's
a.m.
got to make a decision.
Exactly. And my work was at 12. And so finally at 4 a.m. I was like, I'm sleeping. This all happened on my private account story, okay? And then I was like, finally sleeping, right? And then I set up my alarm. I was like, I'll wake up at 10. I'll still be at my work at 12. I did not wake up at 10. I did not wake up at 11. I did not wake up at 12.
Then what did
It's
you end up doing?
it's 12:50 right now, okay? I'm still sleeping. And I see like my phone is ringing and my manager is calling me and she's like, "Where are you?" And I felt that it's just morning, it's like 10 a.m., right? And I saw time. It was 12:50 p.m. My shift started 50 minutes ago and I'm sleeping. I have never been so embarrassed in my life. And
What was their reaction? Did they scold you?
I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I overslept. And she's like, that's so funny, girl. Come in 20 minutes. She changed my shift timings. She
That's so
changed it.
accommodative.
She changed my shift timings because legally in Australia, like you need to be working for 3 hours. You can't work less than 3 hours. So she was like, I'll just change your shift timings. Come at 1:30. And I was like, are you seriously gonna do that? And she's like, yeah, it's all fine, girl. And I was like, okay. Bro, I did not look here and there. I woke up, I got dressed, and I was on the road. Like, I did not think because I was already so embarrassed. And I went there like 20 minutes early and I was like, yeah, I don't mind if my shift starts. It doesn't start another 20 minutes,
Excuse me.
but I'm really sorry for what I did. But they were like laughing that entire time. They were like, it's very chill, it's fine, everyone does that. And that's one thing I really like about Australia and like the Australian culture. People just empathize with you
I
saying that
swear.
I do that all the time. And that's you feel so seen. You feel like this is not something that I experience. It's a universal thing because people would make you seen. They would make you feel validated, and that means so much. I'm not even kidding. Just like saying that I do that all the time, that's it. You just made me feel seen. It's so beautiful.
But Disha, there's this other cultural shock which I really like that
That's
I
the
want to
last
bring up.
one you
Yeah.
have to say.
So I found out here that getting married is not really a culture here. Like people
Yeah.
just live together, live in relationships are normal. Settling in is normal, but not getting married. And when I ask some people, like, what's the reason? Someone says that they don't see a point. Someone says that, there are no legal benefits. So, again, what's the point? And I've also heard that, you know, if you're living together, like, you don't need to announce it to the world. So, like, I would rather just have something very small on the beach, but like, I don't see a point in like actually getting it legally formalized. What are your thoughts on this? Because coming from an Indian background, you have to get married at some point, ideally in your 20 to 30-ish age bracket.
Ish. Yeah.
Ish, yeah, ish for real. But coming
Yeah.
here and seeing that people don't even get married is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I would like to add on that. So I had one of my Australian client visiting me in India. She came to my house and she's not married. She's 38 and she's not married. She's working with the Australian government. And she came, she visited India and I invited her over. So I worked with her in my first year, like complete year I was working with the diplomats. And so when she came to my home and my mom was like, "Oh, so you're not married?" And she was like, "No." And then that's when she opened up and she talked about that marriage is not something that she looks up to, because it's fine to like not finding someone till you are 38 as well. You can find that someone at any age and you don't have to like set yourself into a particular limit that you need to get married at this age or you need to get settled at this age. And she honestly inspired me so much because I look up to her. She's like the perfect example of a strong independent woman and someone who's filled of so much love, because she has so much love to give out to people. And like for me, I'm just her, like we are contracted, and also within the contract we also have an informal bond as friends, right? And she like knitted with her own hands a muffler for me, and that was so sweet because like this person is so full of love, but at the same time they are accepting the fact that they don't need to settle for something that's not right for them, no matter what their age is. And like after that, when my mom asked that question and she replied, my mom was like, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And there was also communication gap because her accent was obviously different. But my mom understand all the emotions she was showing when she was speaking. And like I could literally see that my mom could cry any minute because it was so beautiful. I think that has to be one of my core memories. Because just like the feeling of understanding each other without that language barrier coming in the way, but you just understand everything that they said. It's very beautiful.
I can imagine. But I think the fact that your Indian mom was accepting of what an Australian woman had to say about her opinion of marriages is quite interesting to me.
Yeah, it was quite interesting to me too. And I think that she really understood that perspective. And that was very beautiful. I think that was like unlearning and relearning moment, which I saw with my own eyes. I think I would never forget that moment. It was very beautiful. Okay, we are almost towards the end of the show. It's a minute to go. So we would like to ask Kashmika if she has some final words for the listeners or if she wants to sing a song, because we know she loves songs and loves singing.
I don't really have much to say apart from the fact that I think cultural diversity, cultural shocks, they are just some things that it's a part and parcel of being in a globalized and international world now. The world's just getting smaller, so it's bound to be that you will come across more cultural shocks as you go. Uh, I think cultural shocks are beautiful in their own way. It's also important to be careful of how you might come across, because sometimes you might come across insensitive or uh, rude, but in your culture it might be okay. So I think it's always good to kind of like do your own research in some sense as to how you could possibly come across as insensitive, which is something I did before coming to Australia, and I haven't faced any issue yet. And another thing I would say is that I think cultural diversity is what makes life so beautiful, especially in a globalized world. And I feel like putting down someone for their culture or their accent is just not acceptable to me. I think there's a lot more beauty in embracing the differences than succumbing to a single culture and dominating one. That's
Yeah,
all I would like to say.
that's
And if
very
you want me to
beautiful.
sing, I would like to sing Black or White by Michael Jackson, but I'd just rather dedicate it for all you listeners because thinking about my baby, it don't matter if you're black or white. Cheers.
I love that. Oh my god. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ashmika. And I think we have discovered and also talked a lot about cultural experiences that we have had. And I'm pretty sure we had unlearning and relearning experiences ourselves via these experiences. So, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for having your list ready and different things that we shared. I hope listeners had a good time, and I will see you all next week with the guest that canceled on me today. So, all right. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in on Veroni Radio, everyone who was live on YouTube, and Ashmika. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
See you all next week. Bye.
Happy Anzac Day.
Yay.